Good morning everybody, so I hope you've had a lovely weekend and up and raring to go for this morning. So this morning we're going to be carrying on our recapping, looking at previous learning and answering some different questions on that as well. So the first thing I'd like you to do is have a go at the analog clock, tell me the time on the analog clock, and then for extra points to do, tell me it's on a digital as it was in the morning AM and in the morning PM. Then number one, how many tens are there in 100? So maybe think about how you're going to work that one out. How many visitors were there all weekend? So think about what you're going to do there. Find the difference between £4.42 and £2.50. So think about if you see the word difference, what are you going to be doing? And finally, what is 8 times 6? And please show me your working out, especially for the ones where they're going to be a little bit more of a challenge. Once you've had a go at doing these 4 questions, plus the clock, press play and we'll see if you've got the answers right. Okay, so let's first of all start with the clock. So if I look at my minute hand first, my minute hand is pointing to the 12 because it's my longest hand. So I know if the minute hand is at the 12, I know it's going to be o'clock. So I know it's going to be something o'clock. Now if I have a look where my hour hand is, which is a smaller one, it's pointing onto the 9. So we know it's going to be 9 o'clock. Now to have it digital, remember we've got to have, especially if we're doing it as 24 hours, we've got to have 2 numbers before and 2 numbers after if it's 24 hours. Now if it's o'clock, we know that no minutes have passed, so it will be 00, 0. And remember we've got to have those 2 numbers, so because at the top there's no minutes that have gone past. And if it's on the 9, it would be 9. But for the morning, remember, we've got to have 2 numbers. We couldn't put 90 because that would be 90. We'd have to put 09 for the morning. And in order to turn it into PM, we would add 12. So 9 add 12 is 21. So it should be 9 or 2100 hours. So then for number 1, how many tens are there in 100? So there are 2 ways you could have worked this out. You could have put hundreds, tens and ones, and you could have seen that if I look in my tens column, yes, there are no tens in my tens column. However, because there is 100, we know that there are 10 tens, because if I look at that, I have the number 10. Now, you could have also counted up in your tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and you will have found that the answer is that there is 10, because 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, number 2, how many visitors were there on the weekend? Well, on Saturday there were 493 and on Sunday there were 413. So if we wanted to know how many visitors there were all together, we would need to add them. 3 add 3 is 6, 9 add 1 is 10. Remember, we can't put 10 in the same column, so we'd have to exchange 10 tens for 100. 4 add 4 is 8, add your 1 is 906. Number 3, if we're finding the difference, we know straight away that we're going to be taking away because we want to know how many numbers are between these 2. So I want to do £4 and 42 pence, take away £2 and 50 pence. Now, you could have either done £4 take away £2, however, you can't do 42 pence to take away 50 pence because it's a smaller number. So the easiest way I would have thought here is to convert them all into pence. So in £1 there is 100 pence, so in £4 there'll be 400 pence, and your 42, so 442, and you're going to take away 250. So if I now show my working out, 442. Take away 250. 2 take away 0 is 2. 4 take away 5, I cannot do it. I'm going to have to exchange. So I'm going to have to cross off my 4, turn it into a 3, and exchange 100 for 10 tens. So put the little 1 next to the 4. Then I'm going to do 14 take away 5. Now I'm going to start from 5 and count up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I know the answer is 9. And then 3 take away 2 is 1. So it's 192 pence. But if we were to convert that back into pounds and pence, I know in a £1 there is 100 pence. So I'm going to have £1 because I've got 100 pence there, and I've got 92 pence remaining. Alternatively, you could have turned it into a decimal. You could have had your pound sign, your 1, put in your decimal point, 92. Now remember, you don't need to then put your pence sign because you have got a decimal point. And finally, number 4, what is 8 times 6? You could have done your 8 times table and counted up. You could have done your 6 times table if you know your 6s. And I know 8, lots of 6, or 8 times 6 is going to be 48. Because I know 5 times 8 is 40, and I just need another 8. Okay, so this time I'd like you again to tell me the digital time on the analog time, and put it onto a digital clock as well. Then for number 5, you need to use the ruler to see how long is the crayon. Then for number 6, you need to use the key to work out how many more children play netball than rounders. For number 7, what is £5.27, add £6.50, and number 8, how many hundreds are in 462. For a bonus point there, you could also tell me how many tens and how many ones there are also. Once you've had a go at that, press play and we'll have a look to see if you've got your answers correct. So let's have a look at this one then. So I need to look at my minute hand first. I know my minute hand is pointing to the 2, and I know that this side of the clock is on the past side, because remember it's split in half is my clock. I then want to count how many minutes past it is. Well, if I know there's 5 minutes between each number, so I can count up in 5s, 5, 10. So I know that it is 10 minutes past. Then I need to look at where my hour hand is. It is just slightly past the 8, so it's going to be 10 minutes past 8. Now if I was to write this as a digital clock, I know first of all that my minutes are on the right hand side, so I know that 10 minutes have passed, so I would put 10. Then if it is past 8, remember if it's AM I need to put a 0 before it, so it's 8:10, and for PM in the afternoon I need to add 12 to 8, which will be 20. So your answer should have been 8:10, 20:10, and it should have been 10 minutes past 8. Number 5, you had to look at the crayon. So the crayon actually started at 0 centimetres and was going up until 6 centimetres. So I can see that my answer will be 6 centimetres long. Now remember, when things like where you have to measure the length of something, you need to make sure you look at where it starts and where it finishes to work it out. Okay, number 6, I want to use the key, so I know a circle equals 8 children. So first of all, if I found how many rounders, and then I want to find out how many children play netball. So if I know one whole circle is worth 8, the first thing I want to do is I first want to work out what half a circle is going to be. Well, if I know a full one is 8, I need to half 8 to find what half is, which will be 4. So now if I count up for rounders, I've got 3 whole ones, so I can do 3 times 8, or 8 add 8 add 8, which is 24. Then I want to add another 4 for my half, which is 28 rounders. Then for netball, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whole circles, so I could have done 5 times 8, which could have been 40, or I could have done 8 add 8 add 8 add 8 add 8. But it's asking then how many more children play netball than rounders. So here we're trying to find the difference. And remember, when we're trying to find the difference, we're going to take away. So I'm going to need to do 40, take away 28. Now you could have used your column method for this. However, we could have gone counted up. We've gone 28 to 30, which is 2. 30 to 40 is 10. So it should have been 12 as your answer. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. What is £5.27, add £6.50? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually see if there's going to be any exchanging. So 5 add 6, yes, it's going to exchange, but that should be a nice and easy one. I could then look at my pence, 27 add 50 pence. There's not going to be any exchange in there, so we can just add our pounds. £5 add £6, which is £11. Then you could have done 27 pence add 50 pence equals, if I look in my tens and ones column, 0 add 7 is 7, 5 add 2 is 7, so it's £11.77. Now you could have also converted these both into 527 and 650 and then added them that way, and then you could have wrote yours as £11 and 77 pence. Or alternatively, you could have done it as 11, your decimal point, 77 to find your answer. And finally, how many hundreds are there in 462? Now, if you partitioned that, you should have said that there are 400s, and you should have wrote 400s. You should not have said that there are 400, because that would be wrong, because there are not 400 hundreds, there are 400s. Because if it was 400 hundreds, that would mean that you would have 40,000, and so that one will be therefore wrong. So we know that there are 400s, there are 6 tens, and there are 2 ones. So they should have been your answers. If you were to partition the numbers, you could have said that there is the number 400, the number 60, and the number 2. However, it's asking how many hundreds, so your answer should therefore be 4. Okay, so this time I'd like you to have a go at doing these questions. Please use the clock first of all to answer that and tell me on a digital. Then, how many meters are equal to 300 centimeters? So think about your conversion rates. Which unit of measure would you use to measure the length of a classroom? Now remember, on a ruler, that's on your ruler if you have a look, each of these numbers here represent centimetres, the little lines between each one represent millimetres, and a metre would be about the length of your arms if you stretch them out. So think about which unit is going to be most appropriate. Then, can you draw tally marks? So think about what a tally is to show the number 21. Think about what happens when you get to a certain number. And then finally, you should do your column method to calculate 345. Once you've done that, press play and we'll see if you've got the answers correct. Okay, so let's first of all have a look at our analog clock. We can see that we need to look at minute hand first. The minute hand is pointing to the number 4, as it's the longest hand. And that means it is on the past side of the clock because it's before 6. Now remember, each whole number is 5 minutes, so I can count it up from 12 and I can go 5, 10, 15, 20. So I know that it is 20 minutes past. Then I need to have a look at where my hour hand is. It's just gone slightly past the 1, so it is going to be 20 minutes past 1. Now if I was to write this as a digital clock, remember the right hand side where we put the minutes is how many minutes past, which we already know is 20. And we know it's past 1, so it would be 0, 1. And then to turn it to PM, we would add 12, which will be 13:20. So well done if you got those correct. So this time, for number 9, we were saying how many meters are equal to 300 centimeters. Well, I know in 1 meter, there are 100 centimeters. So if I've got 300 centimeters, I know I'm going to have 3 meters because I'm dividing by 100 and to get from 300 to 3 meters. So your answer should be 3 meters. Number 10, which unit of measure would you use to measure the length of a classroom? So if I look at my ruler, well, it's clearly not going to be millimeters because these are the really tiny ones. It's not going to be centimeters because you would need a lot of centimeters. We would probably do it in meters because this would mean that obviously the classroom's larger, so we can find a bigger, that we'd have less meters, whereas if we use centimeters, we'd have a lot of centimeters. Because remember, there are 100 centimeters in a meter. Okay, for number 11, we had to show tally marks for 21. Now remember, when we do tallies, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and when we get to 5, we cross it like a gate. So for you, you should have counted up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So you should have 4 gates and 1 extra. Oh, can't really see that. And 1 extra there. So that's what yours should look like. And finally, number 12, we're adding, calculating just means solve. 345 add 472, so you're going to use your column method. 5 add 2 is 7. 4 add 7 is 11, but I can't write 11 in there. I must exchange, put my 1 under my hundreds column to show 10 tens. And then 3 add 4 is 7, add your 1 is 817. Okay, I'd like like you to have a go at doing these ones now. So tell me the time on the clock, look at where the minute hand is. Then reading number 13, a bottle is 160 millimeters tall, a jug is 21 centimeters tall. Complete the sentence using taller and shorter. So you might have to do some converting there to put them all into millimeters or all into centimeters to see which one's going to be taller and shorter. Number 14, how long is the toy car? The toy car is, you need to see where it starts and where it finishes, so think about that. Number 15, you want to use a circle to represent 4. So using the symbol, can you show me 18? So think about if one circle represents 4, how many circles? You might even need some half circles or quarter circles to represent 18. And 16, what is 100 more than 345? So that one should be a nice easy one. Now I'll give you a clue for number 13. Number 13, remember that in 1 centimeters there are 10 millimeters. So use that as a clue to help you solve question 13. And once you finish that, press play and we'll see if you've got your answers correct. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. So this time my minute hand is not on a full number, it's on a small one. And I know that each small line represents 1. So I can see that my minute hand is pointing to a small line. So if I count this, I know it's on the past side of the clock. So I'm going to count. Now I can count up in 5 to start with until I get just before. So I can count 5 to get to 1. Then I want to count my extra ones, 6, 7, 8. So I can see that it is 8 minutes past. Then I look at my hour hand. My hour hand is very slightly past 8, so it's 8 minutes past 8. Now if I was to write this as a digital clock for AM and PM, if I do my minutes first, because I'm at past, I know it's 8 minutes past, but remember I have to have 2 numbers here, so I must put 08 for my minutes, because remember I can't put 80 because it's not 80 minutes past, it is 8. Then if it is 8 again, I would need to put 08 before, and to turn it to PM in the afternoon / evening, I'd add 12 to 8, which would be 20:08. Okay, number 13. So using this as an idea, 1 centimetre equals 10 millimetres. I know that my bottle is 160 millimetres tall, and I know my jug is 21 centimetres. Now, before I can say which one is taller or shorter, I need to put them so they are both in the same measurements. Now, in order to get from centimetres to millimetres, I would need to times by 10, and to get from millimetres to centimetres, I would divide by 10. So it depends which way you want to do. I'm going to times by 10 because if I times by 10, I can just add the 0 onto here. So to go from 21 centimetres to millimetres, I'm going to times by 10 to find 210 millimetres. So now we are both in the same unit of measure, we are both in millimetres. I can see which is bigger, 160 or 210. Well, 210 is going to be bigger, so we can say that the bottle, which was 160 millimetres tall, is going to be shorter than the jug because the jug is bigger, the jug is taller. So your answer there should have been, you should have wrote the answer shorter. Okay, for number 14, so we can see the toy car isn't at the start of the ruler, so we need to see what it starts on. So if I have a look, my toy car starts at 3 centimetres, so that's where it starts. It finishes at 7 centimetres, so that's how far it goes. So my toy car starts at 3, goes to 7. So I want to know what the difference is. How long is the length? Well, I know if I count from 3 up till 7, I will get the answer for centimetres as your answer. Okay, so this time a circle represents 4 people and we want to show 18 people. So I'm going to think about how I could represent this. Now I can count up in my 4s until I get to 18. So I've got 1 lot of 4, 2 lots of 4, so that's 8, 3 lots of 4, 12, 4 lots of 4, 16. However, if I do another lot of 4, I'm going to have 20. But I don't have 20 people, so I cannot have another lot of 4. So at the minute, that in total equals 16. And I want to know, I need to make 18. So I need 2 more people. Now, if I know 1 circle represents 4, I want to show what 2 represents. So how do you get from 4 to 2? Well, you half it, so you would need half a circle. So half a circle would represent 2. So if I now add all that together, 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, that's what yours should look like. Finally, number 16, what is 100 more than 345? So you could have used this, put it into a column method here to show if I'm only going to be adding 100 more. If I've got 300, I want to add 100 more, it's going to become 400. Your 10s are not going to change and your 1s are not going to change, so it is 445. Okay, so for this one, I'd like you to have a go at tell me the time on the clock, then tell me as digital clocks AM and PM again. Then for 17, a school hall is 21 metres and 50 centimetres long. Classroom 4's classroom is 30 metres and 25 centimetres shorter. How long is the classroom? So think about it. The classroom isn't 30 metres and 25 centimetres, that's the size. It's shorter than the hall. Then how many centimetres are equal to 70 millimetres? Think about your conversion rates, that in 1 centimetre there are 10 millimetres. And then draw a line that, so then I need to draw a line using a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, obviously you'll have to leave that one out. And finally, number 20, what is 6 times 20? So 6 times 20, please use you could either use your column method, or you might be able to spot something so you can do it nice and easily. I will leave the conversion rate, so 1 centimetre equals 10 millimetres. And you also have 1 metre equals 100 centimetres. So I'll leave those on there to help you. So press pause now, have a go at doing those questions, and then we'll see if you've got your answers correct. Okay, so let's have a look at the clock to start with. Now the minute hand, again, is not on a whole number, so we know that it's not going to be a multiple of 5. But we do know that each little line represents 1. Now my minute hand is pointing on the left hand side of the clock, so we know that this is on the to side rather than the past side. Now, to work out how many minutes to, there's 2 ways we could do it. We could either count up, or I find it easier to count backwards. So start from 12, and I want to count in 5 to start with, to my nearest whole number. So I will go 5, 10, but it's not on the whole number, so I need to count how many little ones. 11, 12. So it is going to be 12 minutes to, because that's how many minutes, because if you start from there, 1, 2, add 5 is going to be 12 minutes. Then I want to see where my hour hand is. Well, my hour hand is it's past the 1, but it's on its way to the 2. So we would say it's 12 minutes to 2. Now this is a little bit of a tricky one. So if we are converting it now into digital, normally this side we say how many minutes passed. However, we know how many minutes it is to, so we need to work out how many minutes that has gone past. Now I know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. So if I take off the 12, because that's how many is being used, and if I work that out, I can find that the answer is 48 minutes left. Alternatively, we could have counted around the clock: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 46, 47, 48 minutes past. So you needed to say that it is 48 minutes past. However, because it has not got to the 2 yet, it has not passed the 2, it has passed the 1, so it must be 0, 1, 48, which is also 12 minutes to 2. If I add 12 to 1, I will get 13, so they were your answers. That one is a tricky one. The to side is always more difficult than the past side, especially when converting it into a digital clock. Okay, so for number 17, it says a school hall is 21 metres, 50 centimetres long, and the classroom is 13 metres, 25 centimetres shorter. And we want to know how long is the classroom. Now, in order to work this one out, we want to find it shorter, so we're going to find the smaller number, so we're going to need to take away. Now, in order to do this, we could actually because it doesn't look like it's, you could do 21 take away 13, you could also do 50 take away 25. We could do our meters first, so we could do 21 meters take away 13 meters. I could actually count up from 13 to 21, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So I've got the answer 7 meters. I've then got 50 centimeters, taking away 25 centimeters. I can go 25 up to 30, which is 5, 30 up to 50, which is 2 and 20. So your answer would be 7 meters, 25 centimeters. Now you could have also converted it or used column method, but that would probably have been the easiest way to work this out. Then for number 18, how many centimeters are equal to 70 millimeters? So I've got 70 millimeters. I want to go to centimeters. Now remember, when we're going centers to millimeters, we times by 10. And when we go millimeters to centimeters, we divide by 10. So I need to do 70 divided by 10. And obviously I know if it's got a 0 on the end, I can just take the 0 off. So it will be 7 centimeters. Alternatively, you could have used your column method and you could have shuffled it, just like we've done before. If it's dividing by 10, that is 1 0, so we're moving it one place, and this time, let's put them in. And this time, if it's dividing, it's going smaller, so we're going to move my numbers one place to the right. My numbers one place to the right. Because it ends in a 7, we don't need to put 7.0, we can just put 7. So we did some practice on moving these last time, so you could have used that method as well. For number 19, you needed to make sure that you drew your line. So started on your ruler, not from the beginning, but from where it said 0. You should have drawn 5 whole centimeters first of all, and then the 4 millimeters, which are the small lines after. And then finally, 6 times 20. You could have used column method. However, we could have taken off the 0. 6 times 2 we know is 12, because we're doubling 6. And put your 0 back on, so your answer should be 120. Okay, I'd like you to have a go at doing these ones. So the analog clock, and then turning it into a digital clock. Then looking at what is the perimeter. Now remember, when we do the perimeter is how far around a shape. So for example, if this was my shape, I know that each side was going to be 3 centimeters long because it's an equilateral triangle. Or, for example, if it's a square, it would all have the same size as well. My perimeter would be how long it is to get the whole way around. So to get from this point at the top, I would go down there, that's 3 centimeters. Across, that's another 3 centimeters. So 3 and 3 is 6. Plus up to the top, add another 3. So that's going to be 9 centimeters is your perimeter. So remember, that's how we work it out. It's the whole way around the shape. For number 22, you're comparing. So again, you're looking at less than, greater than, and equal to. Remembering the crocodile always eats the biggest piece. Now for this one, you will have to convert them so that they are in the same unit of measure to work this one out first. I will put the units of measure on here in just a minute. Then a door is 2 meters and 32 centimeters high. How many centimeters high is this together? So thinking about, again, converting. And then finally, you're partitioning the number 641 to tell me how many hundreds, how many tens, how many ones. I've just put the conversion rates. Now remember, when we're going from centimetres to millimetres, we're timesing by 10. If you're going from millimetres to centimetres, we're dividing by 10. Alternatively, to get from 1 metre to 100 centimetres, we're timesing by 100. And from 100 centimetres to metres, we're dividing by 100. So use that to help you when you go to do your converting for numbers 22 and 23. Once you've done that, press play and we'll see if you've got your answers correct. Let's have a look at the first one. So the first one is your clock. We can see that it is between 3 and 4. However, we know that there are 4 lines between to represent minutes, and each of those represents 1 minute. I can see my minute hand is pointing to the second little line. Now if I work it out, this is obviously on the past side of the clock. I can count up in 5 to start with, 5, 10, 15. Then I can count up in ones, 16, 17, so it is 17 minutes past. If I then look at my hour has gone past the 12, so it's 17 minutes past 12. Now if we were to write this again as a digital clock, remember the right hand side is your minutes and how many minutes passed. Well, I can see it is 17 minutes past. And because it is past 12, obviously that's a 2-digit number. Now this is going to be in the afternoon, because if it was first thing in the morning, remember if we had 12 to 12, it would be 24. There are 24 hours in a day, so it would restart and be 00. So this would be your morning, and then this one would be your afternoon. Then it's looking at the perimeter. So if I just quickly draw my box. So if we have a look, I've already got 2 measurements. Now, to make it easier, I can work out what the other measurements are. Now, I know a rectangle has 2 sides the same and the other 2 sides the same. So I know that if that one, the top line is 7 centimetres, the parallel line underneath is also going to be 7 centimetres long. Alternatively, this line is 3 centimetres. The parallel line at this side is also going to be 3 centimetres because it is a rectangle. Now, to work out the perimeter, you should have done 7, add 7, add 3, add 3, or you could have done 7, add 3, add 7, add 3. Now, if you know your number bonds to 10, I know 7 and 3 is 10, another 7 and 3 is 10, so add all those numbers together, you should have got the answer 20, and don't forget to put your centimetres as well. Okay, number 22. So this one was a bit of a challenge one. So we needed to compare these, and we had 352 millimeters and 3 meters. But I'm going to use my conversions to convert them so that they are all in the same measurement. So in order to do this, I'm going to first of all, I'm actually going to convert my 3 meters, and I'm going to do it right the way down to 300 into millimeters, because if I'm going from meters to centimeters or to millimeters, I'm going to be timesing rather than dividing, and timesing always is a little bit easier, or that's what I think anyway. So if I'm going first of all 3 meters, I can't jump straight to millimeters, I must go to centimeters first. We could do it straight to millimeters, and I'll show you that after, but this is an easy way of doing it. I know that in 1 meter, I know 1 meter is 100 centimeters. In 3 meters, I'm going to times it by 100, so I should have 300 centimeters. Then, if I have got 300 centimeters this time, and I want to go down to millimeters, because that's what my other side is in, if I look back at my measurements, if I've got centimetres and I want to get to millimetres, I'm going to times by 10. So I've got 300, and timesing by 10, remember I can just add a 0 on the end. So now I have got 3,000 millimetres. So now, if I write that above it, 3,000 millimetres, I can then see that 352 millimetres is clearly going to be smaller, less than 3,000 millimetres, which is equivalent to 3 meters. You could have just gone from 3 meters straight down to millimeters, but in order to do this, you would have had to times by 1,000 to find your answer. So that would have been also another way that you might have done it. Now that one was a really tricky one, so well done if you got that one correct. Okay, number 23. A door is 2 meters and 32 centimeters high. How many centimeters high is it all together? So I know I've already got 32 centimeters, but I've got 2 meters. So I want to know how many centimeters are going to be in 2 meters. Now if I look at my conversions, I know in 1 meter there is 100 centimeters. So if I times 2 meters by 100, I will find that there are 200 centimeters in 2 meters. So if I want to know how many centimeters that is all together, I need to do 200 centimeters plus your 32 centimeters, which will get you the answer 232 centimeters, and that should be your answer. Finally, number 24, we're doing 641. If you put your hundreds, tens and ones column, we can partition it. There are 1 ones, there are 4 tens, which is equivalent to 40, and there are 600s, which is equivalent to 600. So you should have had 600, 40 and 1. Or you could have wrote 600s, 4 tens, 1 1. But obviously because we were partitioning, we could have just used the numbers. Finally, the last part of today, we're going to be looking at some money problems. So your money your problems today are going to be thinking about if you were buying, how much things cost altogether, how much change you would have left. So there are 5 questions for you to have a go at doing. Now, one thing I'm going to show you is the key words. So if you see the words altogether, we know it's going to want a bigger number, so you're going to predominantly be adding. Just turn that into a capital. If you are finding the change, remember that's saying how much is left over, so we're going to want a smaller number, so you're probably going to be taking away. If there might be a multi-step problem, so for example it might say I wanted to buy 2 oranges and 5 packets of crisps, and I pay with a £5 note, how much change did I get? There are different steps to your problem. You first of all need to work out how much money your items cost to then find out how much change you would get. So have a go at doing these. I'm going to go through the answers after. So once you've had a go at doing these 5 questions, please can you press play and we'll see if you get your answers correct. Okay, so let's have a look to see if you've got your answers correct. So number 1, I'm going to pull out my keywords. So Jack buys a packet of crisps. So 1 packet of crisps, which costs, so I'm going to write crisps. He only wants 1 packet and they cost 12 pence. Then it says, and a drink. So I want to see my drink. My drink costs 15 pence. How much do they cost altogether? So there is that keyword, altogether. So I want to find the bigger number. So nice and easy, and I'm going to add my 2 numbers together, and so I should find that they cost me 27 pence. Number 2, Janine has 18 pence in her purse. So in her purse, she has got 18 pence. It then says she puts 10 pence into the collection for comic relief. So how much does she have left? So if she takes out 10 pence, we are going to be taking out, so we're going to do 18, take away 10 pence, which was a nice easy one. If I take the 10 off the 18, it should just be 8 pence remaining. Number 3, Michael spends £1.24 on 1 banana, so 1 banana, and 2 oranges. But we don't know how much the banana costs. So what we need to do for this one, we first of all need to work out, we know how much 1 orange costs. So if 1 orange costs 45 pence, I want to know what 2 oranges cost. So 45 and 45. I could do 5 and 5 is 10, 8 and 8 is 8, but remember that's 8 tens plus 1 more 10 is going to be 90 pence. You could have also used column method. Now, if 2 oranges cost 90 pence, I want to know what a banana costs. So if I know that he'd spent £1.24, I can take off 90 pence because this will tell me how much the banana costs. So in order to do this, you could have converted and done 124 pence, take away 90 pence. However, another way that you could have done this one is counted. So you could have drawn a number line, you could have started at 90, 90 up to the next pound is obviously going to be adding 10 pence because there's 100 pence in a pound, and then £1 up to £1.24, you're adding 24 pence. So if you did 10 pence and 24 pence, it would equal 34 pence. So that's one way you could have done it. However, you could have also used the column method as well. So your answer should be your answer should be 34 pence. Number 4, Lucas takes £1 to the school fair. He buys a book and a set of playing cards. So he wants to buy a book, which is 25 pence, and he wants to buy a set of playing cards. So we first of all need to work out how much that is going to be. So if I do 25, add 45, I could do 5 add 5 is 10, so I'm going to have my 0. Add 4 tens, which is 5 tens, add 2 tens, which is 7 tens, so he's going to need 75 pence to spend. You could have also used column method to work that out. Then how much does he have left? So because it's saying we want to know how much he has left, we want to know his change from £1. So I can do £1 take away 70 pence, because that's how much he's going to spend on a book and a playing cards. And I know if I do my number bonds to 10, 7 and 3 is 10, so 70 add 30 pence is going to be 100 pence, which is the same as £1. So that's your answer, should be 30 pence, because that's how much he's got left. If you had said that his answer was 70 pence, you hadn't taken it off to find what change was left, because we wanted to know the change. So that was a multi-step problem, that one. You could have also done £1 take away 25 pence, and then that answer take away 45 pence to find the answer 30. Finally, number 5. So this time I bought 2 oranges, 3 packets of crisps and 2 cartons of juice. I used a £5 note to pay for it, and I want to know how much change I have left. So this is going to be a multi-step problem. So first of all, we need to work out what each of my items cost. So if I've got 2 oranges, now 1 orange costs 45 pence. So if I do 45 times 2, or 45 and 45, I know that my 2 oranges are going to cost 90 pence. My crisps, I know a packet of crisps equals 12 pence, but I need to times it by 3 because I want 3 packets. So I would get 36 pence. And my juice is worth 15 pence, and I want 2 cartons, so it's going to be 30 pence. So now I know that I've got 90 pence, 36 pence and 30 pence. So I'm going to now add these up together to see how much money I'm going to spend. Now I'm just going to do it all into column method. 0 add 6 is 6, add 0 is 6, so I've got 6. 9 add 3 is 12, add 3 is 15, so I'll write 15. So I know that I have spent 156 pence. However, that is not your answer, because I want to know how much change from a £5 note. So I will write, I'm starting with £5 and I'm taking off 156 pence. So I want to find the difference. Now I could convert them all into pence. So in £5 I know there's going to be 500 pence. So I could do 500, take away 156. I could use column method for that. Or, which would look something like this. So I've worked it out. Or alternatively, a quick way might have been if you started at 156, you wanted to get to 500, you could have counted up. We could have gone to my next 10. So if I look at my tens column, I've got 5 tens. My next 10 would be 6, and I want to make it into my next 10, so it would be 160. To get from 56 up to 60, we're adding 4 pence. Then I can go up to my next 100. So my next 100 would be 200. So I'm going to add 40 pence. And then I want to go to 200 to 500, which is 300 pence. So if I add all of those together, 300, add 40, add 4, I would have 344 pence. However, if we converted that into pounds and pence, I know there's 100 pence in a pound. So in 300 pence, I will have £3 and 44 pence. Well done if you got that one correct. Okay, so I'd like you to now have a go. You've had a go at all of that. If you've still got some time left for you to make your own word problems, so to come up with your own and to really challenge yourself with a multi-step problem, you could use bigger numbers, you could use more steps, so like the last one, which had quite a few steps to do. So I'd like you to have a go at doing your own number sentence, then for you to have a go at working that out, and then you could also explain it to me to tell me how you worked it out. So once you've had a go at doing all that, please put your answers on Seesaw, as I'd love to see all your hard work from today's lesson, and I hope you have a lovely day.